I acquired this reel-to-reel machine a little while ago, a month or so ago. It was donated by a client that has had me service a few of their reel-to-reel machines in the past, and they had a couple of spares that they weren't wanting and offered me this one here as a donation. It has some mechanical problems with it, won't rewind or fast forward. It's had the belts replaced on it, and it's also had a basic service done, but the person that gave it to me didn't have any ability to repair the drive unit, so he gave me this unit. It's a Silvertone STR 1700, and other than the fact that it doesn't rewind or fast forward, it's actually not in too bad a shape. Let's take a look at this one and see if we can get it going. As you can see, this unit will operate on both AC power, and it will operate off of D-cell batteries. AC cord goes in on this side, and I gotta find out if I've got a cord set that will plug into this one. Unfortunately, my standard cords won't fit without modification. Actually, my snips are probably better suited to this task as they're stronger and just as sharp. So after a little bit of custom work on the end of that plug, I finally was able to get it to plug in and provide power. After modification of the power cord, there's not much torque on fast forward and rewind. In fact, there's very little. So I'm going to pull this thing apart and see why there's so little torque. Should be able to get into it by removing these screws on the front of the unit, and that should allow me to remove the cover. I don't know that I have to take this whole one apart. All these reel-to-reel machines are different. This is just a 2-head 4-track stereo machine, quarter track as they call it. It features 3 speeds, 2 speeds selectable and 1 by removing the outer capstan shaft. That'll select 1 7/8. This is my machine, incidentally. It was given to me. Okay, there's idlers that are worn down here, and this one here is an idler that's worn down over here. These ones may actually be fixable with rubber renew, because they just appear to feel very slippery and hard, and the rubber renew compound does tend to make that belt is about shot. Look at that. Hasn't turned in a long time, but the rubber renew does tend to soften up the rubber a bit. So let's get some rubber renew, and we'll try that on these and see whether that's all this thing needs. So I'm just going to use some rubber renew. I'm going to put it onto the idler itself here and let it work in. Now the key to using this stuff is you got to get an even coat on it, but it has to dry. When it's wet, it's going to slip. But once it starts to dry up and soak into the rubber itself, it will soften the edge of the rubber, which is what bites into the motor and into the actual drive wheel itself. So I'm just going to apply this for a few minutes and then let it dry, and we'll see how it performs once it fully dries. So now as it dries, you can hear the motor slowing down now when I stall it. Much better torque. See that I can stall the motor right out. That's how good that stuff works. if you get a roller that's not too badly shot, it'll usually soften them up to the point where they're usable. Let's do the same on the other rollers on the other side for the play and the fast forward. So the fast forward idler is the bottom one here. You can see all the oxidation that's come off of it already. And let it dry. My torque should come back on this one as well once it dries up. As with the rewind, we got a lot more torque on here now, right down to the point where the motor is actually stalling right out. We'll do the play idler as well, which is the top one. I'm still using just the same Q-tip. This one's actually got enough torque probably for play, but we'll do this one as well. Okay, unit's dried a bit. Stalls the motor completely. Stalls the motor. And play. This is the limiter clutch. So that's got good torque. I think this is going to be good, this unit. Let's put the cover on it, the cover plate, and we'll thread up a tape and try it out. I probably could do it without the cover on there. I just don't want tape spilling into here if the brakes aren't any good. So we'll put this on just to prevent any tape damage. Because at this point in the game, I'm fairly confident that this is going to work properly. And I don't believe there's any other faults with the unit. It has a new capstan belt. The person that gave it to me told me that they put a new belt on it. This was a gift from a viewer that has too many reel-to-reel machines. I guess they didn't know that I already have too many reel-to-reel machines too. I gotta start getting rid of some of these things. I've got too many reel-to-reel machines that I don't use. Let's grab a tape. Let's, oh, this isn't my Music Bakery tape. What's on this one? We'll find out pretty quick. I may or may not be able to play this, but we'll find out if there's anything on this tape. Oh, there is. I can't play that. It's a great track, but I can't play it. I'll play little snippets of it and then we'll move over to Music Bakery. That's a great band. The band's called Big Wreck, by the way, out of Toronto area. But yeah, great track. But yeah, it's sounding good. But I can't play this track. But I can check out the fast forward, and we can see that we have more than enough torque now. And rewind. So let me put a tape on that I can play. I think I'm gonna have to clean these controls too. They were sounding a little bit scratchy. This one should be Music Bakery, and I should be able to play this one here. The brakes are really, really tight on this thing too. Tone controls. Gotta clean the volumes. Ooh, listen to that. It does have auxiliary inputs and outputs on it too. It looks like it's got one on each side. On the left side I see a mic, external speaker, and auxiliary. And on the right side I see mic, external speaker, and auxiliary. So I'm curious as to whether each side is a separate output. I doubt it's a stereo output. It'd be separate mini plugs. They're using 3.5 millimeter or 1/8 of an inch, as it would have been called back in the days. Plug. Got to deal with those. And these are held on by screws, so let's remove the knobs. We'll take this faceplate off and deal with the noisy controls. Somebody wanted to make sure that those knobs never, ever, ever came loose. They're attached with about 25 foot-pounds of torque. That's a knob, not a tire we're putting on here. Okay, this should come off just like that to reveal some beautiful controls down here, which we'll be able to clean no problem. What cleaner should I use for this? Let's use some WD-40, shall we? I'm going to use MG Chemicals Neutral contact cleaners for this one. This is actually old stock, too. They don't make it like this anymore. And I mean, I could just as easily use Deoxit. I'm using this because this is what I grabbed first off the shelf. There's nothing wrong with Neutral. This was actually developed. It was developed many years ago, and it was developed by the telephone companies for use in cleaning crossbar and Strauger switches back in the early days of rotary dialing to keep the contacts. So it's got lubricating oils in it. Very good stuff. It's right, you know, I mean, it's every bit as good as Deoxit, which is the other cleaner that I use. I use Deoxit D5. This is really expensive stuff. This is a little less money. If you ask me my opinion of which one is better, I would say probably the Deoxit is better than the newer formulation of Neutral, because this is an old can. I've had this can probably 30 years. This was the TF solvent based. The newer ones are alcohol based. So I think that Deoxit probably is better than the new Neutral, but the old stuff, and this can has still got a lot in it. The old stuff, the old classic Neutral, was very good cleaner. So this goes on, this is special. This is my special use cleaner. Which one of these is the volume? The bottom one is the volume. The top one is the tone control. We'll get in here and clean this up. We can get into this control. See that all that static is gone? Same for the volume control, the tone control. Do the same for the right control. mono and stereo. So mono, left channel. Where's it here? Okay, so that's left channel, right channel. That's what that's for. It only comes out of one speaker, but it lets you switch the left and right channel, both on the same output. And then, of course, for speed. In case any of you wonder, that track was called After 5. The composer is Jack Weldemare, and it's distributed through Music Bakery Publishing. It's one of the Music Bakery royalty-free tracks, so that's what that one's called, if anybody cares, because people do ask me what I play. So that's one, After 5, by the Music Bakery. I think we'll just maybe lubricate this capstan shaft a bit if it hasn't already been done, so we'll just take this off. This is taken off. Undo this. This is for the 1 7/8. But if I take the capstan shaft off, I should be able to get a little drop of oil down there. Just grab some oil. Just give it a little drop of oil down there. That'll soak into that bearing because it is horizontally mounted unit. This one here, obviously, well, I guess it could stand up, but you'd have to get the suction cups to hold the tape on. This is one that's designed to lay flat when you're using it. Just 3-in-1 electric motor oil. This stuff, that's what I use. It is perfectly suited for this type of work. Yeah, I know there's too much there. I'm going to soak that up. But this is great oil to use for electronic work. So I'm going to soak up any excess oil so that it doesn't wick up the capstan shaft. Little info about the good old 3-in-1 electric motor oil. This is a petroleum-based 20-weight oil. It is specifically designed for electric motors. It is not an engine oil. It does not have detergents. You want to stay away from using any type of oil that is designed for an internal combustion engine, because they have rust inhibitors, they have moisture absorption capabilities, and they have detergents that are required to keep engines clean. You know, engines that burn gasoline and diesel, that have a lot of fuel burning byproducts, a lot of carbon left over from combustion that needs to be removed. And engine oil is specifically designed to do that. Electric motors, on the other hand, there is no combustion, and they don't need an oil that's got detergents. You want as pure an oil as you can get. That being said, this is a good, pure lubricating oil. And I've been using it on electric motors, capstans, turntables, you name it, since I got into the business in 1983. Do not use household oil, because household oil, like used for door stops and hinges and stuff, also has corrosion inhibiting compounds in it. It's not pure oil. The 3-in-1 household oil basically is like engine oil. It's got additives in it that you don't want for electric motors and for things that are precision and have to spin. This stuff is good. I've used this on everything. I've used this on clocks when I've serviced electric clocks and even mechanical wind-up clocks. I have a grandfather clock in my house, which was somebody's baby. They bought it as a kit, and they started on the woodworking, and they started the cabinet, and then they abandoned the project, and it sat probably in their garage for 20 years or so. And I found it at the side of the road, and it was in pretty sad shape when I found it. I brought it home. That was before I started making videos. If I had been making videos then, I would have done a video of the restoration of the mechanism. But that was before I was doing the YouTube videos. And I took this thing apart, and I lubricated all the mechanical gears and cogs and regulator, and the chimes. It plays Westminster chimes, and that is in my house. I've been running it for about 10 years now, and one day I'll get around to actually finishing the woodwork on it. It's done. It's not stained. It needs to. It's just made out of pine, right? The wood is made out of pine, so it's white pine. So someday I might get around to staining it and putting the glass in. It doesn't have glass that covers the hands or the pendulum. That part's open. The person who originally built it, I found the bill of sale for the clock mechanism. I should go and look at it because it's still in the house. I can tell you what year they got it. But I think they paid like $795 for this clock mechanism as a project, and then they say they abandoned it and just threw it to the side of the road, and I found it on spring cleanup. I thought, oh, this is too good to throw out. Anyway, the moral of the story is I use this from the same can as this to lubricate that clock, and it works great, and it has worked ever since. So don't let anybody tell you you can't use this for pretty much anything, because this is a very pure oil, and it'll work for just about anything. Well, I've got the unit apart. I'll clean the heads. And the pinch roller with 99% isopropyl alcohol. As I say, for the slower speed, you take the capstan adapter off, and it can be stored on that holder so you don't lose it. 1 7/8, 3 3/4 are the two speeds when the capstan shaft adapter is off, and when you put it back on, it becomes 3 3/4 and 7.5. But for the most part, not too many people used 1 7/8. I guess it was used for some voice recordings, but certainly not for high quality sound. That may be because the reel is larger. I should really have a 5-inch reel on both sides. So when you stop, the larger reel has a little more momentum to it, so that can happen. You notice on fast forward, not so much of an issue. Anyway, I think that pretty much does it with this. Let's put the top cover back on it here, and I guess I should take the tape out of there just to protect it while I figure out how to put this back together. There. Put the knobs back on it, and that will finish up this one. Nice thing about these knobs is that they're keyed, so they only go on one way. You know when you tighten them up that they're going to be in the correct position. Anyway, that's it. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you again in the next one real soon.